Okay, round five, we actually get a tiny glimpse into Levi's passing because Kade actually like gives him bottom or gives him top, sorry, which is crazy, but I'm all here for it. I think Levi has some pretty good passing and probably very modern gi passing that I think I try to emulate. One of the things that he does different is he doesn't really give his weight in the same way that Kade does. So he's kind of in a split squat right here, but I'll point it out when it happens. He actually goes up into this kind of position. This pigeon-toed position is so good because you are structurally safe and your weight isn't above them, right? Like his weight isn't here for Kate to capitalize with a collar tie and to like overhead sweep. One of the main threats when you're passing in headquarters position in the gi, I think, is that overhead sweep. People do that all the time. And the way that you can negate it is using your knee to frame into their hamstring. And that makes it really hard for them to overhead sweep you because they're effectively just pulling your head or they don't have a collar here, but like they're pulling your weight and they're driving your knee into their own hamstring, which just doesn't do anything, right? You're just pulling structure into structure. And so that overhead sweep is negated there. It also gives you the ability to just be more mobile than if you were just sitting down on your butt. So we'll see Levi be a little bit more mobile here. He does a really good switch like coming up soon where he's trying to pass on this side, the knee slice side, feels that he can't. And what he does instead is he locks down this hip here, right? He locks this down. His head is acting as a wedge here to occupy space and kind of like crowd the inner inside position. And then his hips will rise and he switches to a far side leg drag threat, right? And this is because he has mobility, right? So he's not throwing his chest or his hips, and he's not sprawling on the guy. What he's doing is he's almost like tripoding, right? Where it's just awkward to deal with, but it gives him the mobility of having his legs light. And he threatens for this leg drag here. And then I don't think he he got stopped ever again, but it would have been really good to see. I know just from watching Levi's leg drag instructional on Submeta. Let me see if I can find it right here. Right, what Levi's goals are is to cup this hip to prevent Kade from being able to regard. He, fails at this in the end, and to keep this hip pinned. And the way that he keeps his hip pinned is he wants to walk the weight into this far shoulder. And so by circling to Levi's right and walking his head so his head is over that shoulder, he's able to kind of crowd the guy. But he's unable to do this here, right? There's a scramble. Kade actually gets out. And I think Kade actually has an opportunity to be heel hooked here, right there. But in the scramble, it's hard to get anything. And this is round five. The guys are tired. This is absolute elite level. So, I'm not saying you should have done this. Like I'm just saying there's an opening there. All right, more passing attempts. I'm gonna skip ahead. See how it's different? He's giving him his full weight. His toes are off the mat, which I don't think is. I personally don't play this way because I feel like the guy can sweep me really easily because I'm giving him all my weight. I have no base. Now the Ruotolos are both really good and they're both gonna float, and this is the style they play. Being so crazy mean right here, but for $1 million, you do what you gotta do. Right, Kade is controlling that second leg more. I don't think the flop is gonna work. Right, again, trying to grab the head. You can't. The K guard hook is too strong. You're not gonna blast through anyone's legs, right? Another De La Hiva attempt. And he gets kind of close with this north south, but because this leg is inside and you haven't deleted the frame, Levi's gonna be able to retain guard. And here with this stack, stacks are very common in gi. So what Levi does is he doesn't ball, right? If he balls, he's dead. If he balls and curves his lower back, then he gets stacked and he can get cooked. So what he does is he extends his spine, he keeps his hips heavy to the mat, and he presses his shoulders into the mat, right? And so with those two things being heavy, you have a straight spine, you're trying to be elongated, right? He's flat backing hard here. Another thing you could do is you could also relax your hips so that your legs are gooey, is how I've been described to do it. And the reason why you would want to do that is if you imagine your body is like a wheelbarrow, and this is a stiff structure that's flat and flush against the mat, then the handles would be your legs, right? When someone grabs your legs and tries to lift you up, it's like grabbing the handles of a wheelbarrow and trying to pick up the back two wheels, right? But if you make your hips gooey in combination with like arm frames, you can effectively try to copy the shape of like a wheelbarrow that has hinges for handles, right? It just makes it weird and awkward for someone to pick up. So it's about manipulating the shape of your center of mass and then also like what kind of grips they can make on your body. I think he just high pummels here and gets out. So he doesn't really use the gooey hips. Maybe he does. It's hard to tell without feeling a person, but that's a concept that I've been using with some pretty good success. Right, trying to sink in on a leg. You know, Kade just being so heavy. I feel like he's tired, right? Like he's on both his knees. He seems like he's breathing heavy. the double the double mouth cover is funny. I'm not in love with this grip here, just because I feel like Kade could shift this knee up and go like knee on shoulder or knee on neck. It might be tough though because of like Levi's length though, and maybe he is defending really well with his bottom knee. But you see here, like this pass box is getting open. That was close. You know, I think that's a serious threat. And that's another thing I feel like we haven't talked about, but like killing the hook using his right leg, right? Kade uses his right knee to pop the hook off to help facilitate his left knee to knee slice. You know, it doesn't work, but that's a very common technique. I think that I actually don't see that often. I see pros do it. I see AOJ do it a ton, but I actually don't see it live in training that often. Right here, closed pass box, right? Elbow under the knee. Like you're gonna knee slice to where, right? You're not occupying the space between the hips and the armpit, so there is no pass, right? And he's trying to remove this thing. Can't. Okay, trying a leg lock. Nothing. And it's so annoying to deal with this, right? This foot on the hip. He's getting a little closer now, right? He's hip switching. He's occupying that bottom space. I think with the leg across, you have to be mindful of like false reaps. It is just very annoying. I think from what we've seen of all 5 rounds, Kade doesn't really have an answer for Levi's top arm and top leg frames. Right? And he's like, that's close. He's in the pass box. He's very close. He's very close. Now, is this a real frame? I don't think this is a real frame. Um, I feel like this is adding so much knee pressure, right? Like the leg across there is and someone's like blasting forward, you got to have so much flexibility. I just also know that he's like pushing out with his foot, which is putting strain on his left LCL. Can you do it? People do it. Will I do it? I don't know. I already have like compromised ligaments, so I don't know, right? I might opt for a foot on the collarbone because then you could leg press the guy off. But then that is also an easier frame to deal with because then what Kade would do is swipe the inside of the ankle off, right? And then I'd be passed. So is this a good frame? It's working. I just personally wouldn't play it probably because of pre-existing injuries. Um, but this is as close as we've seen of Kade like passing Levi's guard. It's very close. I think that pretty much wraps it up.